Oh my God, it's Miles. Hey, Miles.
Is it live on YouTube? I mean on Facebook? Yeah, there we
You
go.
check Facebook, I'll check YouTube.
Mm-hmm. Hello. Boop. Turn your sound off, JJ.
I just did. Because, you know. We are live, but are we live on YouTube? Yes, we are.
Yes, we are.
Look at that. Wait.
Your headphones are not plugged in. Just so you know.
I know.
Hey guys.
Oh, should they be
Hey
plugged
guys.
in?
Hey guys. You're gonna plug it into this.
Yes.
It's always a pleasure coming before you guys. Stop repeating yourself. Hola. I'm not going to linger. We told everybody as of yesterday that we were going live. So I've been advertising it all week, so I will not linger.
How is everybody doing?
Jay, what is your favorite part of our podcast that we do every week?
I think the feedback.
Love the feedback. Love when the fans or our followers engage with us and start like asking questions or feeding off of our energy. Hey guys. I am Tashara of Love's Compassion Ministries.
I'm Jedediah Gilliard of Love's Compassion Ministries. I'm your co-host.
Thank you for joining us today. Here we go. All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in. As you see, we are here to discuss today how parents influence us. So I just wanted to put it out there that when I say how parents influence us, I am not just talking about your parents. I'm not just talking about the parents that we grew up with. We encounter everyone's parents. For those of us who stayed with our friends' parents a time or two in child, babysit kind of situation, or even just engaging in parents that we come across daily. We do have a special guest joining us today, and I'm going to add him in right from the beginning. And it's the number one who made me a mom. This is my number two who made me a mom, but the number one who made me a mom will be joining us. Miles, welcome.
Hello, Miles.
How you doing, Papa?
Good.
So my oldest is in college. He is 20. That's just a little introduction of who he is. Miles, would you like to say anything to the people before we get started? No. All right. We always encourage our audience to engage with us. So please feel free. We'll be looking at the comments as per normal. And reiterating whatever questions that might pop up. Usually we give a few minutes for people to log on. We don't have that many logged on as of right now. We ask that as you come into the room, please announce yourself. This way you don't feel slighted. We can give you acknowledgement. Now, I personally would like to first and foremost just make a little quick disclaimer, right? Because some people don't know the full backstory for me. I was in foster care from the age of 15 up until I aged out. But I do have a relationship with both of my bio parents. I had relationships with my foster mom until she passed. I have a bonus mom who also passed. Anything that I say is just part of my testimony, part of my story, part of my truth to tell. It is not to slight my parents, to minimize any way that they played in my life or who they were in my life or are in my life. It's just part of my story to tell, and can't nobody fault me for that, right? So Jay, I always like to try to offer you the floor first, right? Is there, how would you like to start off today of how parents influence us?
Well, on the sidelines, BTS behind the scenes, we were thinking, or I was thinking, we were thinking, and something that you brought up was, well, one, like she said before, it doesn't have to necessarily be your parent that influences you, but also it could influence you in a different way. And by that, I mean like TJ, my father, my donor. I would say he influenced me, but at the same time, he didn't, it wasn't influence like, oh, I want to be like him when I grow up, because I don't at all. It was like the other way around. Like I grew and I learned from him, so I knew what I shouldn't do and what I don't want to do from the outcomes or from what I know happened with him. That was just what I wanted to say.
You better have more than that for the whole.
Of course.
Okay. So Miles,
Yeah.
you're our guest today.
Mm-hmm.
So I called you up early this week and I asked if you wanted to be a part of our show. And I'm grateful that you did take the offer. Slide in some so you're on screen. I'm grateful that you took the offer. What came to mind when I asked you to come and speak to the people about how parents influence? Because you have a different walk than your brother has.
Well, so what first came to mind was how they also influenced me, because I got we're growing up having one dad and three moms. So like in my mind, I'm like, I got four parents, and it was kind of odd, but I'd say they all have their own influence on it. And another thing that came to mind was how in life most people either they know it or they don't know it. Is their like most of their personality does derive from their parents, whether they are conscious of it or unconscious of it. Hence why a lot of times growing up, almost everything that I did, people will either say, your mom did the same thing or your dad did the same thing, or you're just like your mom or your dad. That's the first thing that came to mind.
Now, one of the things that I thought about when it came to you, Miles,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm hoping that maybe you'll even speak on this, there's a lot of things about you that I personally feel like could have been influenced by the way in which you came up, in the sense of your dad and I, when we split, that kind of became a bit of I almost want to use the word toxic dynamic for you, because you were back and forth at different homes. And then there was a lapse in communication between your parents. And so you were kind of like caught in the middle.
I wouldn't call it toxic. I'd say just more unstable.
Unstable. Okay. I definitely can receive that. Sounds better than toxic. So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
How would you say that possibly influenced you?
Influence wise, especially with the work schedules of both of you, especially with even the short times that you had me, and your very rough schedule leading to you either not being home for long times and end, so I'm somewhere else, or when you are there, you're just really tired and sleeping. So there's not a lot of time spent. It developed a I see you when I see you type of mentality that I have a really bad habit with of a lot. It affects a lot of my relationships now, where people don't think I care much about them because I don't call as often or I barely text to check in with people. Because like growing up, I'm just like, yeah, I'll see you whenever I get back to you or whenever you get back to me. So I tend not to be very responsive or text with it, or I barely call anyone. So whenever I do call people nowadays while I'm here in college, they are very surprised whenever I make random calls. Like it's a very rare occurrence to hear from me.
One of the things that you just said that I liked was things that you experience, like the absentee, influence your relationships today. That really, for me, is a standout of what I was thinking when it came to the topic, right? How parents influence us. So the things that we experience with our parents can have an effect on our relationships and the way in which we encounter people today. Jay,
Mm-hmm.
you too experience me being what he just said, gone a lot because of work.
Mm-hmm.
When I am home, I'm tired. Do you feel like those things can also contribute to your relationship dynamics with others or even with me?
I feel like it more with you because as a lot of people may know, especially if you guys watched their previous lives, I didn't grow up with a dad and a mom. I grew up with Miles and a mom. So I tend I I tend to, go or, be over to the mom side of the parent. And the fact that you do, like you work is there, so you're gone. It's like for me, it's like now I do have a bonus mom though, so that's good. I still have that family member I can lend to, but it's still like you still want to have time with both members. I don't know about the whole influential part though. I don't know how I would describe that.
Okay, one thing that I learned about myself this past Mother's Day weekend, right? We were having a discussion, it was a group of my peers, family and friends, of parenting. And we spoke of, for those of you who have seen previous lives that we've done, we spoke on gentle parenting versus authoritative parenting. So I grew up with what we call authoritative parenting. I grew up where the parenting was more like a dictatorship. That's for the old school. That's like when you be like, when your parents tell you do it because I told you so or because I said so, that kind of thing. Whereas with my kids, I've been told plenty of times that I talk too much to them. I give them too many chances. I'm constantly talking as opposed to, I guess, jumping to discipline. And one of the things that some of my peers had told me is that the way in which I was raised is why I parent the way that I do. So you have people that grow up in dynamics where it can be abusive, or it can be unhealthy or what have you. And you say things like Jay just said, oh, I want to be a better man than my dad was or a better father than my father was. I personally didn't like the authoritative parenting. I didn't like the dictatorship. So I wanted my parenting to look different. But I've learned that because I wanted it to look different, I went to what they call the extreme. So instead of me immediately disciplining when it is fit to do so, I try to make every moment a teaching moment. So it can come off as though I'm passive. It can come off as though I'm allowing my kids to get away with things. And how you doing, Durant? And it can come off as though I allow you guys to ask questions that old school may feel like, why are they even asking you that? You said do it, do it. That's it. Now, Miles, you've been experiencing my parenting a lot longer than Jay has, right?
Mhm.
What would you say? Hey, Pastor Don, what would you say
All right, pass it on.
might have been maybe beneficial or that you disliked, or however you would express it, about my parenting versus maybe having someone who is more of an authoritative parent, like the old school way of doing things?
Gotcha. Um, I'd say what I said because I'd say you had a little bit of like in the early stages of it, you had a little bit of mix of the both. And one thing
Whose phone is that?
that would it's my Mac. I don't know how to turn off notifications on there.
Oh,
Yeah.
if do not disturb up top.
Uh,
I'm
but
sorry. I was trying to figure that out.
yeah. But more or less do it because the way you disciplined was um wasn't always physical. Well, not in the physical sense of hitting, and most parents it was unusual, like rigorous exercise, like exercise till you drop type thing, which honestly felt more like torture. But
Okay.
that's neither here nor there. But I'd say some of the talking points felt a little teaching. Some of them I was kind of confused on because and kid didn't really understand what you were talking about. Have time, kind of just go with it type thing. Yeah, I say it was more like that. Yeah.
I agree.
hmm I'd say I dislike some of the exercise stuff because a little much. At some points, I'd rather just get hit than have to exercise for as much as you did it. For
Just
it.
bust you upside my head and call it a day.
Yes, other than sit against the wall while holding this stack of Bible books over my head and across my arms, rather just get hit and sent to bed.
We did have a discussion on today's discipline versus yesterday's discipline. You guys can go back and watch the videos if you haven't already. Miles, you can go back and check it out. I did already let the people know the type of discipline that I had done. So I won't elaborate on that here because that's not today's video. But as I was saying, Durant said it builds cardio.
Mhm.
As I was stating, I learned how some of what I experienced from my parents influenced how I am today. Um, I'm a talker. I don't feel like my mom was a talker. Now, my bio pops wasn't in the picture in my younger years, but I'm a talker. I don't feel like my mom was a talker. My mother said to do, and if you didn't do or you looked at her sideways, you might be wearing her hand or whatever was closest to her. So get your charger. So I've learned that my way of parenting today was influenced by my mom, my parent. Now, when I go into other parents, Miss Hamilton, Miles remembers Miss Hamilton, Jetty remembers Miss Hamilton. I call her Ma. That was my foster mother. I learned so much compassion with her. So when it came to her, I learned to be very receiving of people, if that makes sense. Like I've already had a heart for the people, but with mom, her door was a revolving door. Y'all know that anybody could walk in that house and her name became Ma. If you walked in the house and she was cooking dinner, you were invited, you were welcome to eat. These are things that I grew up with. Now I notice my wife, I can see the parallel of how she is to her mom. My wife is kind of short, I would say, right? A little short tempered, little response on emotions kind of situation. So like we had a situation recently where Jetty was given a tone and Dee didn't like the tone. And she was like, forget it. I'm not going to say anything else. We had a situation where we were all in a meeting and a discussion with her mom about a month ago, and something transpired. Her mom responded the same exact way. Forget it. I won't say anything else. So you can see how your characteristics, the way you operate, is similar or influenced by the way in which we were raised and grew up. Now, I also want to I keep typing it in the comments, but for those who may not be reading the comments, please feel free, step in. How parents influence us. I'm not just talking about me. I'm not just talking about Jay and Miles. Feel free, Dawn, the rant. We got Jay Cinnamon. Feel free, please, to say anything that you like. Jay, if you hook that up to that, it's going to pick up. What's that? My phone? Don't worry about my phone. I'll unplug it. Excuse me. Sorry, guys. Technical stuff going on.
Technical difficulties.
Little man's phone is dying. Hey, Miss T. Hey, sis. See you out there. Ariel Leon. I'm not sure who that is, but I will say hi. Let me change my battery settings. How would you guys say that your parents, Miles, not your baby boy, I'm talking to the people. What is this, my charger? Sorry, guys. How would you guys say that your parents influence? Hey, Ariel. Okay, I'm sorry. I don't know why when your name first came up, it didn't even just strike with me. Hey. Those of you who are just tuning in, do me a favor. Figure out how to get my keyboard back. I can't. It's like Bitmojis over there. Those of you who are just joining in, as it states underneath, we are discussing today how parents influence us. So that can be anywhere from your characteristic traits, that can be from your practices, that can be from your beliefs, from any way that you can think of, how your parents influenced you or influences us. Oh my, Jetty's trying to fix some things over there. Oh, I don't know how you did that, but you can show me later. I'm laughing because I remember this. Nobody. Jay, you said you had more. Let's go.
I did. Okay, so this is a different absentee, but we did speak about absentee in the beginning. I spoke about how TJ did influence my life. So, like I think you said before, when I think about TJ, I think about he sort of was like a so-and-so both in both because he influenced in a good way, but he also influenced in a negative way. And I say that because negatively, he can influence emotionally, but in psychologically, when I think about it, I'm thinking about like I take what he did and compare it to my life. Like I know what like I said before, I know I shouldn't be doing it. But like I took what TJ, I don't plan on, and God forbid, I'm not going to. If I grow up and I get myself somebody who, to be my love, I'm not gonna cheat on them, or sorry, I'm not going to, abandon my family, all that kind of thing. So, like for example, I have a video here that did you put it on?
Oh, I forgot to put that video up there. It's a TikTok video, right?
Yes.
All right, let me go ahead. Keep talking and I'll try to come about it.
So like you have the mom, like I sort of want to be like her when I get older. And then you have the dad where it's like, I want to be the opposite and I don't want to be like him and I don't want to do his actions from my perspective.
So, for those of you who have watched, do we have watchers of what was that show called? Bel Air?
Yes, Prince of Bel Air, Fresh Prince of Bel Air.
Yes. All right,
The
so
original or the new one?
the original.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the other one is quite dark. But let's see. Jetty wanted us to show this. I hope it comes up as something that I can put on here. Moments. Give me a second, JJ, because I gotta do. Uh-oh. Huh? No, it's not coming up. You see it? Give me a second. Continue, Jay. In the meantime, if you can.
I was pretty much done with that topic.
Oh, gosh. All right, so those of you who have watched The Fresh Prince, right? Do y'all remember how Will Smith's father played in his life, or the lack thereof?
And actually, sort of that whole theme that we're trying to play was Will Smith's true emotion. That wasn't acting, because in real life, he didn't. Him and his father were separated.
He didn't grow up with his dad.
No, he did not, because his dad actually got arrested and spent some time in the big house.
He said the big house, not the big house. So I'm really trying to add this. Who's in the comments? Which version? The way the parents raised me. I would like for you, Miss T, please elaborate on that. If y'all see in the bottom, we have someone here who, yes, who has stated she came up with a little bit of both, right? So she also came up with, I know what to do. I think I know what to do. With old school parenting. And with that being said, she also did the whole do as I say kind of thing just because I said so, as well as talking and making teachable moments. I'm still in the process of trying to get this video. Ain't that something? And I'm mad because little man did send this to me. I should have had it already for you guys. I have to convert it though to add it. Miles, do you have anything else that you would like to add, baby?
I'd say most definitely your parents can influence your interest, such with my dad, who at a young age introduced me to anime and video games and martial arts. And as I look around my apartment, that's pretty much what it's covered in: posters, anime figurines, swords, and such.
So let me ask you a question, because at one point your whole diehard was gaming, just straight gaming, which I know you also got from your dad. But what are you in school for now?
For film.
And how did you end up doing that?
I saw a really, really bad video game movie adaptation, and I was like, I can do better, so I will. So I made my whole thing in film, my whole inspiration to make good video game movie adaptations, like the Last of Us show. That was a really good example of a good video game movie adaptation with the original Mortal Kombat movie.
Oh, I don't even know how I ended up in StreamYard. I feel like we're kind of lagging today on our convo. I do.
Or another good way of influencing is like by your friends' parents or other people who aren't your parents. Like I'd say with Jaden, with relation between Jaden and my dad. Whereas when Jaden came back from Georgia, when he moved back to New York, he moved in with me back in Rochdale. One thing is he didn't really know what he wanted to do with anything, and so my dad got him into music. And shortly after he got him into music, that basically became everything to him at this point. Because at first, Shaden was just into animation, but he didn't know how to go about it or really know what to do. And then my dad got into music, and now Jaden can play so many different instruments 24/7. He's blasting music that he's making, and he's my roommate in college also in for animation.
Someone in Miles heard, I don't want you to think I didn't hear you. So you have the concept of, there it goes, found it, of influencing what we do. Now, Dawn has stated that parents are the first people children interact, which is, we know this to be valid. Watch the table. They have a huge influence on how children perceive themselves. Children look to parents for validations. Now, since I have both my children here on the screen, I'm going to ask you guys' opinion on that, right? So she says that we look to you guys for validation, right? So think about that from the standpoint of influential, from the standpoint of who's influencing you guys. Think about how I raised you guys, the way in which I speak to you, communicate with you, if validation is, included in that, the way in which I validate you guys, what would you say, or how would you say I possibly influenced you guys?
What exactly is validation?
So words of affirmation and feeding into how smart you are, telling you guys are smart, telling you guys are, worthy, and, you can be anything that you want to be, and those types of situations.
I mean, for me, it wasn't like, you would say that out of nowhere, but you had words of, like that. And then there was, whether if it was to make me feel better, whether if it was just to encourage me on something, definitely. But, I mean, that's an influential act for positively, because, it also like can influence is like, it can like, I better fall off. It's like,
Some of my seat is there. Go ahead.
It gives, you're like setting an example for your child. So I would say that's what I was trying to find. But I don't know what it's like for Miles. So Miles.
I'd say one example that comes to mind was when I first decided to like go on to college. It was this one time. It was me, mom, and Miss Dion in the car, and I can understand I probably misinterpreted what she had said at the time. But when when you were asking me about it, when you opened with are you, the first thing was, are you sure that you want to go to college because you were never particularly great at school, nor did you really like school? And I didn't understand what you meant by that, but looking back on it, I had to reflect on the conversation, because when you had first said it, the first thing that came to mind was like, at first I didn't think you were supporting my decision to go to college, and it kind of hurt a lot because I just didn't think, because at first my first thought was that you didn't believe in my dream and goal of what I wanted to achieve, and then because I'm never really confident in how I used to do it in normal school. But main reason I picked Full Sail entirely because it's completely different than normal schools, and because I spent a lot of time talking to people and seeing videos of people who went and their experience on it, and I realized it was a school for me because it's not traditional schooling, and I just know traditional schooling just doesn't work for me. It's just not a great way of me learning, and I always struggle with it. And in my mind, I was like, I finally found a place that would work for me, and something that would actually give me an education that would help me succeed where I want to be. And in my mind, I thought you were bashing it and seeing that I couldn't do it. So in that moment, I didn't feel like I didn't feel validated by you in that moment, and I felt as though you didn't believe in me. And then you had asked Dion for her opinion on it, in which she had responded with, college affects everyone differently, and maybe he'll like it, maybe he'll be good at it. And which then I felt validated by Dion in that situation. And maybe
Okay.
feel a little bit.
First and foremost, for those of you who are watching, don't change nothing. Don't change nothing. For those of you who are watching, this is my first time hearing this. I did not know that I made my son feel that way, and for that I apologize.
Cool.
I was not attempting to discourage you, and I certainly wasn't looking to make you feel like I didn't believe in you. There's actually nothing that I feel that you can't accomplish. I guess the error that I made was I was looking at what you were doing in that time. So I remember in that time frame, you were not adequately fulfilling your responsibilities in school. By that, I mean homework assignments, maybe classwork assignments. Am I right when I say that?
Yeah.
Okay. So when I made the statement that I made, I just personally don't feel like college is for everyone. And by the way that you carried yourself during your younger academic years, I just didn't want you to go through something that you wouldn't want to do or soar in, because I was going by what it looked like at the time. But as we're stating, parents influence their kids. I can't imagine how I would feel and how I would move about in life moving forward if I felt like my mom didn't believe in me. So like it bothers me to hear that I made you feel that way, because I don't know what, you're not a talker. You know, you don't really express how you feel. So while I didn't know that, I don't know the footprint that that left for you either. So as
I
parents,
use that as motivation to work harder.
you said you did or didn't?
I use that as motivation to work harder at school. So that's what I really try to make sure I wake up super early, be the first one there in class, chat up with the teachers before everyone gets there.
I guess it's a pro and a negative all at the same time. Like it's a negative because of how I made you feel, but it's a positive, and I feel uncomfortable calling it a positive because it made you feel away. But I guess it did have a positive outcome because it did motivate you. But as parents, and I've said this before in previous videos, we always have to be very careful on what we say to our children, how we word the things that we say. I am very blunt. My kids know that. I am very blunt with my mouth. I do not sugarcoat. If I think it and it's not too inappropriate, I'm going to say it. And I give them safe spaces and an open floor to respond.
I'd say that's another way of influencing me, because one thing that the people around me always describe is that I tend to be very blunt and frank with people. And I'd say one thing that's also affected my relationships, because a lot of things I get told is I'm too blunt at times, and they feel as though I'm ignoring their feelings at times. And I'm just like, not really ignoring your feelings, but I don't feel the need to sugarcoat what I have to say. Especially if I feel as though what I'm saying is true, or if I'm right in the situation. And it tends to come off, especially whenever I am working on set. Excuse my language, but people say I can be kind of a dick.
Hell, I've said that about you. So, but that's
Yeah.
because I know, like you just said, you can be quite blunt, and you won't think of what you're saying and the other person's feelings. You're just putting out what you're saying. Not to minimize, not to negate. I had starred someone's comment at the bottom, right? So this is actually one of my bonus sisters from Miss Hamilton's house that I grew up with. Her name is Lakeisha. So one of the things that she said that really resonated with me, right? It says, I have many different influences. I have had many different influences in my life. Mom, which is whom I spoke of earlier, Miss Hamilton, showed me that love was an action. She's the reason I pour into young people who goes through things. Love is an action. Now, y'all already know we're Love's Compassion Ministries, right? And for me, love is an action is a big deal. I think I've spoken before about a book that I was working on, that I was writing, where it speaks on what we learn from the gate. Love is something that you learn. At the end of the day, it's not natural. You don't just come out knowing what love is. It is what you see around you. It is that's why you have people that end up in abusive relationships, because they might have come up watching their a parent get abused, or, you know, a guardian being abused, and they find that to be normal, right? So with Keisha saying that love is an action, I feel like that's one of the reasons we have the world that we have today, because there's not enough love that's been shown at the core in the household. And no disrespect to the old school, but I do believe some of the old school ways contributed to that. Please don't hang me on the cross. But if my discipline is more of what I'm experiencing, and it doesn't have a balance of love, affection, pouring into just as much as you're beaten up on, for lack of a better way, I'm gonna put it, beaten up on in the sense of with words, because you have people that go through that. That's when people walk out there and they think that's the norm. Like Miles said, he felt, because, you know, he's grown up, he saw a cutthroat mom, very blunt with the mouth, say it, spew it. That's normal for him. So he's comfortable moving about that way because that's how he was raised. You have people here who said that they were told to do dishes constantly growing up. Now they're grown and they hate doing dishes and they don't make the kids do the dishes. Please, Miss T, let me know how y'all get your dishes done. I just want to know by the comment that is there. Now,
I hated doing dishes. I got a dishwasher, and every time I use it, I call my dad because all the times he made me do the dishes. I call him, show him I have a dishwasher. It's awesome. I don't ever have to do my dishes.
I cannot. They would desire to please you with what they've learned. I've had to learn how to think on how what to say can be what I say can be perceived. I now practice slowing down long enough to think about how I would feel if someone said things in a certain way. It can be hard, but I do not make sure. Excuse me, I do it to make sure I'm usually projecting love, even when I'm correcting others. Now, Miles, when you think about what Keisha is saying here, right? I don't know if you can see her comment.
Mm-hmm.
Think about what you just stated as far as being very blunt, just saying it like it is. You know how you are. You know how your mouth is. Can you handle people talking to you the same way?
100%, yeah. And one thing I have learned while being a wholesale is when it comes to being on set work, that's just the norm. So I'm used to it all the time. And since I'm so used to it, people do it to me all the time. And it's just like, whatever. Or sometimes what's weird is when someone I'm talking to is being blunt, but a person who's like either friends with them or relationship with them would be next to me would apologize for them, in which I'd be confused as to why. I'm like, I don't see anything wrong with their behavior. Why are you apologizing? And they're like, oh, okay. I thought they were being kinder. I'm like, no, they're just getting their point across. And I'm like, I was probably messing up anyways.
So I'm going to ask you another question and take it one step further.
Mm-hmm.
We spoke of, you never know we spoke of this in the past. We never know people who have what they're going through at home, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's say you do have people that is at home and it's a toxic environment. Maybe they're not being spoken to with respect or with love behind it, right? And their skin isn't thick. Now, I'm not saying that you should bear the responsibilities of people's home life, but would you ever take that into consideration? Like, do you pick and choose who you might be blunt with?
Now, I have a friend who doesn't have a good relationship with their parents, and they're very sheltered in a way. And so, like, they're 19, and the way they carry themselves and the way they act and their response to everything is very childlike, and it annoys the hell out of me. But I understand it's not entirely their fault, and sometimes they'll when they ask me something, and I'll be very blunt with my response because it's just something you just have to do right now, and they're asking for instructions. They were like, they will tell me like why I say it the way I do it. I'm just like, because it's just how it is. I'm not your dad. I'm not going to coddle you about it. Like, you just got to go do it. I don't know what to tell you, dude. Because I'd say one example was they needed help opening a bank account. And one thing I didn't know about my friends around me, one thing I learned from different people, how they were raised, is when I made my first bank account, the first time it was made, me and my dad went to the bank. He helped me open it up. And then it got foreclosed because we didn't set it up right, and there had to be a certain amount of money in there. So the second time around, I had to go open it on my own. I was 16. I just walked in the bank with the information. I did it on my own, and I didn't see how hard it wasn't that hard. So when they came to me and asked me they needed help, I was very short, more responsive, very confused. I was like, "Why would you need help setting up a bank account? It's not that hard." And they go, "I don't know what to do." And which, looking back, I probably could have worded differently. But my response to them was, "Can you read on a third grade level?" And which they looked at me and was like, "Yes." I'm like, "Well, read the instructions."
Okay. Got you. He's 20, guys. He's still growing. Our minds aren't fully developed until we're in our late 20s. So maybe when he lives a little longer and experience a little more people, maybe he'll have a little more compassion in speaking. Right now, blunt is what you're going to get. I love you for who you are, son. Ebony states here, right? As you get older, Miles, as you get older, I just said this, you learn how to be blunt without being offensive. Right? So there's nothing wrong with being blunt, but I kind of try to make it my business. This is me as a parent. I'm trying to influence my son right now, guys. I try to make it my business to keep in mind, what if I'm the last person this person is encountering before they're going home to make the decision of if it's over? I'm done. I didn't want to be, as you just said, excuse my language, I don't want to be the dick that confirms that life's not worth living because it's nothing but a bunch of idiots out here or mean people or, you know, that kind of thing. You know what I mean? Yeah. There's nothing wrong with being blunt, but there's a way that you can do it. Again, we're talking about how parents can influence their kids. I'm just trying to be a parent influencing one of my sons right now because I know his mouth. I know how it is. I contributed to that mouth, so I get it. But I'm older and I had to learn. There's a lot of people. One thing I learned is with your words, right? So we have the power to build, pour into life, and we also have the power to kill and destroy with this same tongue. So if you yourself don't learn to control it, maybe use it to be compassionate, use it to build people, not necessarily tear them down. What if you got a person that already got low self-esteem and now you come in and you talking to them all what they feel to be as crazy? You don't see it to be crazy because what I'm saying to you is truth. And I understand that because I used to have that concept. If what I'm saying is true, then what's the problem? Yeah. That doesn't mean that they have to hear it like that. You can get the truth across and not be a dick about it.
Because one time they came to me again for a similar problem, and it was shortly after because their roommate had after they walked out of the room after the first conversation, the roommate had set me aside and tried to explain that I should be a little bit more compassionate to them. And so there was another time they came to me because I was the only one in the friend group who had gotten a job. So she wanted to ask me how could she find work. And the thing with her is she's not very social. She has very bad social anxiety and trouble talking to people. And if you raise your voice just by just a slight raising your voice, she'll just shut down. So she was asking me about how she can make some more money, in which she asked about doing fast food stuff, in which I had a very quick and blunt response of, you're not really cut out for it because if one person yells at you, you're probably going to start crying about it. But I was like, but I'm not saying you can't do it. I'm not saying don't try, but at the same time, you should probably be aware of your limitations. In which she's an art student, so she's good at drawing. I'm like, for starters, you should just do art commissions for work anyways, because you can set your own prices and you probably make more money doing that than you would working at fast food.
Copy. Jay, go ahead.
Is this working?
Jay, go ahead. Hello? Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna go back onto what I was saying since we never got to play the video.
Oh, snap.
Right.
All right, first say what you were saying. I'm going to play this video that Jetty wanted to be played. Go ahead, Jay.
I was just going to say, so we have a background, if you guys forgot, how we were speaking about how TJ, father donor, influenced me and how he can influence on both of a positive and negative kind of act. Now, this iconic scene will be played, iconic original Fresh Prince.
You're going to speak on this after I play it?
Just play it.
But you're going to speak on it so that there's a purpose behind it. Guys, tune in, please.
Why should I be mad? I'm saying at least he said goodbye this time. I just wish I hadn't wasted my money buying this stupid present.
I'm sorry. If there was something that I...
Hey, you know what? You ain't got to do nothing, Uncle Phil. Hey, ain't like I'm still 5 years old, Ain't like I'm going to be sitting up every night asking my mom, when's daddy coming home, Who needs him? Hey, he wasn't there to teach me how to shoot my first basket, but I learned, didn't I? Hey, I got pretty damn good at it too, didn't I, Uncle Phil? Got through my first date without him, right? I learned how to drive. I learned how to shave. I learned how to fight without him. I had 14 great birthdays without him. He never even sent me a damn card. To hell with him! I ain't need him then and I don't need him now.
Will.
Nah, you know what, Uncle Phil? I'm gonna get through college without him. I'm gonna get a great job without him. I'm gonna marry me a beautiful honey, and I'm having me a whole bunch of kids. I'm gonna be a better father than he ever was. And I sure as hell don't need him for that, because ain't a damn thing he could ever teach me about how to love my kids. How come he don't want me, man?
I think your mic's muted.
No, I said I didn't see that thing dozens of times, and it still makes me tear up when I see it. Go ahead, Jay.
I just like, wow. I don't know how long I saw that, like how long ago I saw that, but it just, because of this topic, I was thinking on, like the topic last night, and it popped up in my head because the first time I saw this, my brain was like, this is something you can connect to and can relate to. I was just like, wow, because I started thinking about it, and I was like, if you think about it, I don't want to be like him, and I'm not going to be like him. Like Will said, I'm going to be a better father than him. I'm going to be a better lover than him. I'm going to do everything that I wish he could have done to me better than he'll ever do to anybody else. So I think that was just such a great and deep, iconic scene. I loved it. Like, I really did. And it really meant something to me.
Thank you for sharing that. Thank you, Will Smith, for exuding those emotions the way in which he did.
And all emotions, not even acting, because he really felt that way.
I think as parents, sometimes we don't realize the power that we have in influence. Like, we think about our kids. I can't speak for all parents. We think about our kids. But I know for me, it's like, as a parent, naturally for me, it is easy to parent any child I come across, if that makes sense. So if your child is in my presence and you're not around, or even if you are around, I happen to see something that is going on, I'm not going to look to you first. We had a meeting of the neighborhood, everyone getting to know each other, right? And the kids had begun to like discard things in the streets. Like, they had their little juice boxes. We had given them snacks and stuff, and they were just like throwing it on the ground. I went and gathered up the children, and I said, let's go. I had everyone pick up the mess. Oh, I didn't put that there. I didn't ask you who put it there. This is your neighborhood. Your parents worked hard to provide you with a good house to live in, a good home to live in a beautiful home. It is your responsibility to make sure your neighborhood looks good. Do you want to live in a dump, or do you want to live somewhere that's clean? So it's your responsibility. You see some trash on the ground, your house is right up the street too. Pick it up. I don't care who put it there. Pick it up, throw it in the garbage. At the end of the day, I don't wait for someone's parent. And thank God for the parents that were around. We didn't have a bunch of ignorance. They were sitting there like nodding their head in complete agreement. As parents, we always have to realize every child we come across. You signing off, Papo?
No, Grandma.
Every child we come across, you never know what they're looking up to you for. We recently, again, when we were in Maryland, we were talking, it was a bunch of us, cousins, family and friends. And one of my cousins was expressing that there is a neighbor home and her kids, clearly the mom works and the kids tend to be outside. You can see that they crave attention. She doesn't discard them. She don't treat them no type of way when, they talking. She'll talk to them like they're her kids. She'll give them juice boxes if she's giving her kids snacks or what have you. We can influence the next generation, even if they're not under our roof. So for me, how parents influence us should be something that we don't just think of how we were influenced, but think of how we want our kids to be, how we want our future to look. Your future doctors, your future lawyers, future students, teachers. When you think about those things, that's what we have to exude so that the kids can pick that up, because they may not necessarily get it in their own home. They may not get it in their own household. When your friends, or excuse me, your kids ask, can their friends come over? Make sure that what they're seeing when they're over there is something that is positive. So if you're the only example they have, it is a positive example. Jetty has went to people's homes, not in this house. This was an old house. Jetty has went to people's homes and come home and bragged about how the area was so nice and so well kept and put together and so on and what have you. In our old house, we had not finished unpacking and so on. So there was areas of the house that looked like storage units or what have you. But again, that's him seeing something in someone else's home and coming to his home and telling his parents in awe of how he liked it. Again, when they seeing stuff, they're being influenced by someone else. Always be that positive influence. I don't know what that face is about, and I'm going to discard it. All parents should inspire all the children around us. Amen. I agree with that, Miss Martha. Definitely. The work taking care of issues that would affect them later on. Those seeds will last in those children. Right. I'm reading the comments, guys. Just going through the comments. Jay, you have anything else?
I do not currently, but I'll probably think of something.
Guys, if you have anything else to add, please feel free to speak. At this time, I'm going to tell you, if you haven't already went on to our YouTube, Love's Compassion Ministries, please go on, because I've learned so much that people are having a hard time getting on our lives. People are having a hard time seeing our Facebook page. Last night, my sister hit me up like, I'm looking for your page and I can't find you. I went looking for her page. I couldn't find her. Turns out she was blocked. I did not block my sister, and I don't know how she got blocked. So I'm learning that there's all types of glitches when it comes to Facebook. Love's Compassion Ministries on YouTube. If y'all know, look for us. Just look for us every Saturday. Sometimes we go on Sunday instead. What we also do is we'll send a message out as a blast to different people as well. So please follow us, like us. Go ahead, say everything. Because
you can email us at lovescompassion@gmail.com. Text for prayers or topic suggestions. 347-699-5722. Again, that's 347-699-5722. Let's put that email back up just in case. If you need to write it down, type it in, just memorize it. And make sure you subscribe, hit the like button on our videos. Put on your post notifications so you know when we go live, we post another video.
Someone in the comments had made mention that, parents are quick. We have a lot of parents out there with that. That's not my kid, so it's not my problem. I want you to take that statement and in the back of your mind, think about anything that can apply to that. It's not my kid. It's not my problem. And look at the movement that we have today. You have people's kids being killed by cops regularly. It's not my kid. It's not my problem. They only stepping up when it becomes drastic, and now they want to be a part of a movement. But Lil Billy could have been the kid that you just was discarding, and now Lil Billy is the face of BLM movement, and now you want to jump on the scene. Keep the same energy. If it wasn't your problem, don't try to act like you care now. Sorry, I don't want to get sidetracked. But we have to, as parents, treat every child. I believe we'd be better off treating every child as if it was our kid and how we want our kid to be treated. So if you don't want nobody jumping in your kid's face, don't jump in people's kids' face. Let it be a teaching moment. If you didn't hear Jetty, because he did speak a little fast, it does take a village. It does take a village. If you did not hear Jetty, the number that he made mention of, which is down in the bottom.
347.
This is a number that can be used.
699-5722.
Right here at the bottom. This is a number that can be used for you guys to send suggestions of topics that you want to hear us speak on, topics that you might want to be a part of. Even if you want to be a guest on the show, you can also hit us up if you got a good topic that you think you want to talk about. And feel free, just hit us up ahead of time, send us an email, send us a text, and we can definitely discuss it, get on board, and bring some light to the people on topics that we may overlook or not discuss. The email is also there for the same exact reason. If you guys have prayers that if you want to hit us up for anything, please feel free. I've been trying to learn. People tell me I don't market enough. Absolutely. Respect ourselves and them. But I'm a barber, for those who don't know. If y'all need haircuts, y'all can also hit us up. That same number you can text as well. But no, before I put the barber commercial up, Jay, thank you. I appreciate your enthusiasm. I actually want to do the book. If y'all see in the background on the screen, y'all see that little Broken But Not Defeated. That's a book. We speak on it every week. I have a book of spoken word, a book of poetry that I wrote some time ago. You can get yourself a copy. You can go right on Amazon and get you a copy, or you can send me an email and you can get your copy as well.
You don't have your book yet? Well, get it now. Broken But Not Defeated by Tashara Gilliard on Amazon.com. Want it autographed? Send an email, lovescompassion@gmail.com, and we will make sure you get your book today.
Go ahead.
This part.
We thank you guys for tuning in to us today. The microphone's on. We thank you guys for your comments. I hope no one feels slighted. We really were trying to look and make responses to everyone. Please remember to be a part of that village. Remember to be a part of that village of those parents that are influencing everyone, because it still takes a village no matter how we look at it. Be blessed, guys. Have a good one. Miles,
Later.
I love you.
Love you too.
Miles.
Thank you for joining us.
No problem.
Later.
Later.
Awesome live today. Thank you all. Thank you guys for tuning in. Loves Compassion @gmail.com. Loves Compassion on Instagram. And the phone number,
Which was 347-699-5722.
tune in next week.
Make sure you go to YouTube of Compassion Ministries, leave a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the bell, post notifications so you know when we post another video and we go live. Goodbye.